Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News radio station, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere on demand with iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, iTunes, and more. And this is a show about hope and happiness. So there's no gossip, no scandal, and no bad news. I want to balance out all the bad news with good news. What's going well with the world, what's going right with the community, and what's going right with you. So this week is actually celebrating or recognizing your own mental health and how you can feel better wherever you are. And so as per this week, I continue to give you some happy 88 tools from my best-selling book, 8 Ways to Happiness, from wherever you are. And if you stay to the end of the show, I'll give you instructions on how to win the Asian Oprah giveaway today for Labor Day weekend. And before we get into the tip, I wanted just to give you a couple of interesting things about Labor Day that you may not know as we launch into this still sort of in the pandemic. Well, okay, we are still in the pandemic. It is still another holiday in the pandemic, which makes it a little bit different, a little more challenging. Maybe we can't do everything that we were doing. We still have to keep safe. There is the Delta variant. It is not a conspiracy. It is not a lie. It is not made up. It is still posing a challenge for us as we try to get on top of this virus. And we all have to do what we can. Get vaccinated, wear a mask, social distance. You can delay all the things that you used to do just for a little bit longer so we can get through this, okay? So, but here's some maybe not well-known facts about Labor Day. Certainly, I didn't know them, and I love looking things up. So the idea first became public in 1882. The unions of New York City decided to have a parade to celebrate their members being in unions and to show support for all unions. At least 20,000 people were there, and the workers had to give up a day's pay to attend. There was also a lot of beer involved in the event. So those of you who are getting a paid holiday, I hope you appreciate that. The first Monday in September is celebrated nationally as Labor Day. It grew out of the organized labor movement and quickly became a national holiday as the labor movement assumed a prominent role in American society. All right. And these facts are supplied from the Labor Department and the Library of Congress, and of course, Google. Let's see. Two people with similar names are credited with the first New York City event: Matthew McGuire, a machinist, and Peter McGuire, a carpenter, have been linked to the 1882 parade. They were from rival unions, and Grover Cleveland helped make Labor Day a national holiday. It has evolved over the years. Here's an interesting fact I didn't know. Wearing white. The old tradition goes back to the late Victorian era, where it was a fashion faux pas to wear any white clothing after the summer officially ended on Labor Day. The tradition isn't really followed by anyone anymore. Emily Post explains the logic that white indicated you were still in vacation mode at your summer cottage. I'm going to remember that and wear white more often, because I do want to live every single day as if it is a holiday and as if it is my last. And those of you who know me, I practice what I teach most of the time. And that's why I do this show. And hopefully, as you continue to listen and tune in, that you will be feeling better and better. Because it is my Happy 88 mission to have 88 million more happy people in the next 8 years. All right, continuing on with the statistics or the little known facts about Labor Day. It's the unofficial end of hot dog season. Didn't know that. The National Hot Dog and Sausage Council, didn't know they had one of those, says that between Memorial Day and Labor Day, Americans will eat 7 billion hot dogs. Now, I also learned from one of my sailing kids, you lose about 27 minutes of your life per hot dog eaten. So this metrics was developed by researchers at University of Michigan. Hopefully, with knowing that, you will eat less hot dogs because we want to stay healthy longer. All right. And let's see. How many people are in unions today? According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there were 14.8 million union members in the workforce in 2017. There were 17.7 million in 1983. What is the biggest union today? The National Education Association has about 3 million people who are members, including inactive and lifetime members. So there's a little bit of information and interesting facts about Labor Day. And of course, I want you all to really, really enjoy this holiday weekend. I want you to enjoy, even though we are in the pandemic, this holiday as well as every single day. So with that, I'm going to take a break. And when we come back, I'm going to give you the answer for today's question of the day. How do I feel better about life right now? That's been the question of the week. And we'll be right back, and I'll give you my advice that I sometimes, most of the time use, even though the name of the show is Take My Advice, I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show. We'll be right back on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
All right, we're back, and you are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, CNBC, NBC News radio station, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere on demand, including iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, and more. And of course, if you free subscribe on my YouTube channel, you will get all 500 and I believe 28 shows now, over 488 consecutive weeks. Yes, I'm so shy. I have nothing to say. And I'm so grateful for this show. Those of you who don't know, 2016 Podcast of the Year Top 10 in Health Award. I also got the 2017 Cover Award Coalition award for this show for one of my episodes. You can find that episode, which is the Power Panel, my discussion with Bishop Carlton, Neil Donald Walsh, best-selling author of Conversations with God, and my big brother, Michael Bernard Beckwith, who is an Oprah 100 lister and the best-selling author of several books, as well as the founder of Agape International Spiritual Center. So that episode is on my YouTube channel. So please do free subscribe. You can also get my red carpet playlist with my interviews with John Travolta, Halle Berry, who has a new movie coming out that she's really a beautiful person inside and out. And I want to continue to be the one who points out what's right with people, because there's just too much not niceness on social media today, on the news today. People picking people apart, especially people who really have no business picking people apart. It's really interesting how those with the loudest opinions aren't the ones that do anything. And so I would ask you, as you continue to support and tune in here, to use your attention. That's your currency. So what you pay attention to, what you choose to tune into, what you choose to talk about, that's a valuable commodity you have. So please don't abdicate your most valuable resource you have, which is time, to those things that don't matter. Don't talk about people's business that it really doesn't matter to you who is wearing or who said what or whose divorce is rancorous, or there's just so much else life affirming to talk to. And that's the answer to the question of the day: how do I feel better right now? You can feel better by paying attention to what you're talking about. When you're talking or posting or reading, does it make you feel better or worse? Does it make you feel better or worse? And that question is such a powerful tool. So I get up in the morning. First thing I do, if I start scrolling and reading, most likely 88% of the stories out there are not life affirming. Most of the stories talks about the horrific things that are going on around the world. So as I'm reading, I will try to catch myself and say, is this story making me feel better or worse? Is this opinion about whatever it is making me feel more fearful or hopeful? Because I get to choose what I'm reading. I get to choose what I'm listening to. I get to choose what kind of conversations that I have. No one's putting a gun to my head to call someone up and say, oh my God, did you hear what Kanye said in his new album about Kim and their marriage? No one's putting a gun to your head to read about it or to talk about it. Because really, does it make you feel good to be talking dirt about anyone? Does it make you feel good to see people in a bad light? Does it really make you feel good to talk about people, places, and things that are none of your forking business? Can you tell I'm on a roll? Yes, I'm on my hashtag positively opinionated soapbox, because we blame the media for being a weapon of mass distraction. We blame the media and social media for being horrible and saying bad things. We blame the media or people on the media for being bullies. But guess what? By highlighting and talking about it, you're feeding right into it. So I guarantee you that if you don't start your day with social media, if you don't start the day listening to the traditional news, except me at 8 a.m., you're probably not going to start off feeling good. And you did that to you. Nobody did that to you. You chose to do that. So here's my balance challenge for the day. Tomorrow morning, or this whole Labor Day weekend, can you not look at your phone at least until noon? Not look at your phone at least until noon. And focus on taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich. So what's that? That's my tool for today. Every morning, the first thing you do instead of looking at your phone, you sit up, you take a breath, and you say, what are 8 specific things that I'm grateful for? That's the top of the bun of my gratitude sandwich. So 8 specific things that I'm grateful for every single morning during Labor Day. You can decide after Labor Day weekend if you want to continue. but 8 specific things that you're grateful for. So this morning when I woke up, got out of bed, I actually had an early meeting, but I did my gratitudes afterwards. I said, I'm grateful for my delicious, wonderful taste of coffee in the morning. I'm grateful that I have people that I can connect with first thing in the morning that affirm my life and how free I am to choose. I can choose bondage or I can choose freedom. 3, my scrumptious, wonderful, comfortable, amazing bed. Number 4, that I got a text first thing in the morning from my beautiful daughter showing me a picture of her guy's new little puppy dog that was like so adorable. 5, a text from my dad last night, my bonus dad, that said that I get to have this delicious meal made by my bonus sister, Bang Bang Shrimp and crispy beef on Saturday night. 6, that my wonderful, beautiful friend, Tawana Floyd, who was on my show, is taking me out for my birthday dinner tomorrow night at one of my favorite sushi restaurants in Seal Beach called Mahe's. And 7, that I got another text with a solution from my younger daughter about something that I'm missing. And number 8, that I have an entire weekend to choose what I want to do because it is Labor Day weekend, no labor, celebrating no labor for the weekend. And what a delicious holiday that is. So there is 8 specific things that I quickly rattled off. It did not take a lot of time. And you can do the same thing. So that's the top of the butt. The only rule is you cannot say friends and family because it's not specific enough. So if you start the day with 8 gratitudes instead of scrolling your phone, and then at the end of the day, and here's the more difficult one, because you start your day easy, but by the end of the day, you have so much to complain about, which is why I started the 21-day fast from complaining with Dr. Marissa, which is another tool that you can find on my website, drmarissa.life. That's only for advanced people, though. You have to be able to eat, be on a diet of my gratitude sandwich at least for a week before you take the 21-day fast from complaining challenge. So the bottom of the bun is called appreciation. So this is how you blanket your day with my gratitude sandwich. At the end of the day, instead of putting your head on your pillow and thinking about all the things that you didn't get done, or all the things that are going wrong in your life, or all the people that insulted you, or all the people who are a pain in your butt, in your assets, all the things that are wrong with your family, all the things that are wrong with your friends, all the things that are wrong with your country, all the things that are wrong with your job. It's no wonder we can't sleep. It's no wonder people have problems falling asleep. If that's how you end your day, then you're going to have a problem sleeping. So instead, the alternative, the choice is 8 specific things that you are appreciating about yourself. And that goes along with yesterday's answer to the question of the day. Yesterday, I talked about your muscle, your ability to approve of yourself is tantamount for your happiness. So at the end of the day, you're practicing that muscle. You're saying, I appreciate about me the following things. And you just focus on what you were able to do during the day, what you did accomplish, that you are a caring person. You're not 100% of the time caring, but 88% of the time you're caring. 88% of the time you're loving. 88% of the time you're a problem solver and creative. 88% of the time you do the best that you can with the time that you have and the resources you have. Yes, all of these tools we've covered all this week. If you missed them, go to my YouTube channel and you can get and watch the shows again and get these tips. Because why do I keep harping on this stuff? Because I want you fundamentally to feel good 88% of the time. We are going through an epidemic, a pandemic of a dis-ease with life. Even hashtag BC19, the time before pandemic, there were a lot of really unhappy people. And now, because of the pandemic, we're even unhappier. So if you tune in everywhere else, you'll find more reasons to be unhappy. I want you to tune in here so I can help spoon feed you and get you to take a little sip of my rose-colored Kool-Aid. Does that make sense? Hopefully, you'll take this balance challenge, start the day with your gratitude sandwich, end the day with 8 things that you appreciate about yourself. And I promise, if you do this every day over Labor Day weekend, it's just a test. Every day in Labor Day weekend, you will have a great Labor Day weekend. You cannot help. That's my guarantee. And if I'm wrong, you get a free audiobook copy of my 8 Ways to Happiness from wherever you are, which is the Asian Oprah giveaway. By the way, the first person or the first 8 people to go to my website, drmarissa.life, and put in the subject line Labor Day Help will get the promo code for that. Okay. When we come back, today is because it's a holiday weekend, I thought I would prime your pump for a little bit of romance. If your relationship could use a little bit of spice for this Labor Day weekend, my spotlight interview when we come back after the news break at the bottom of this hour is my interview with a really interesting guy. He's been on Oprah, Dr. Phil, Good Morning America in 2020. His name is Dr. Douglas Weiss, and his interview is ageless because everybody could always know how to spice up with his newest book, or it's not new anymore, but 5 sex languages. Those of you who know love languages, this is an application of that principle that different people have different likes. I actually had him on my show when I was weekly, and every last week of the month, I had a special series called Sexual Healing with Dr. Marissa. The new Dr. Ruth. I actually got to interview her, and that's an interview that's available on my YouTube channel. But back to Dr. Weiss, I had a great interview with him that will be spotlighted because my sexual healing series is all about making pleasure a G-rated topic. It is my, everybody has a right to my opinion. It is my opinion that one of the reasons we have issues with pleasure because it was hijacked as a bad thing, that somehow pleasure and sex are dirty, dark, secretive, not to be talked about topics. And I think that has some, that contributed to problems we have with youngins getting into porn. They need information, so they go to misinformation from peers and porn. And those 2 P's are unnecessary if we embrace the fact that pleasure is a gift of life, and sex and orgasms and exhilaration and all of that beautiful part of life. If we talked about it, obviously respectfully, obviously carefully, we can still embrace it as a part of one of the wonders of our lives, and certainly a stress reliever. So that's your warm up, your understanding. You're standing under the foundation of why I am bringing you the spotlight interview with Dr. Douglas Weiss. So stay tuned. 2, take my advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind, with my interview with Dr. Weiss coming right up. Don't go away.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back. You're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on CNBC, NBC News radio station, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere, including my YouTube channel. Free subscribe as I continue to balance out all the bad news with some good news and some laughs, because laughter is my absolute favorite sound in the world. Celebrating Labor Day weekend with me, sending you off into more pleasure with my spotlight interview with Dr. Douglas Weiss, author of 5 Sex Languages. Please enjoy.
Dr. Douglas Weiss calling in from Colorado. He's a nationally known author, speaker, and licensed psychologist. He's appeared on many national talk shows, including Oprah, Dr. Phil, Good Morning America in 2020. Dr. Weiss has made a television movie about his treatment of sex addicts on Lifetime called Sex, Lies, and Obsession, and hosted Winning at Marriage, an international television show. He's an Amazon bestseller with more than 30 books on how to successfully heal relationships, addictions, or cope with sexually addicted partners. Welcome to the show, Dr. Douglas Weiss.
Oh, it's so good to be here.
Hello and welcome.
Well, it's good to be here, Dr. Marissa.
Great. And you've worked in this field for a long time, but I'm sure
30 years.
30 years. I'm sure I saw your picture and watched a little bit of your YouTube, so you must use oil of Olay because you don't look at that you've been working that long at it. But I'm sure you've collected quite a bit of experience in this whole arena of sex and pleasure and marriage and couples. I'd like to start with the whole term and the world of sexual addiction. So what is your definition of what that is, and what are the trends that you're seeing with people that they need sexual healing from in this area?
Well, I mean, sexual addiction is a way of coping with life, either past or present. It's using sex, no matter what the behavior, self-behavior, behavior with others, to medicate, to avoid, to escape, in a way that becomes compulsive, self-destructive, and oftentimes, you tried to stop. I'm a recovering sex addict. I've been sober for over 30 years. No self-behavior, nothing outside my marriage. I take a polygraph to verify that, and people fly in and do intensives in our office every single week and have for many, many years.
So you've had that experience. Okay, so you've had that experience yourself.
Oh yeah, I know what it's like to be totally out of control sexually. I know what it's like to have sex with several people in a day. I know what it's like to be insane. Mm-hmm. I know what it's like to be sober and free and well and healthy and have the best sex of your life too. I would go for where I am today, rather than there. And anyone can get there if they want to. If we want to talk about sexual addiction recovery, we can. But in working with sex addicts, that's how we discovered the 5 sex language. We discovered intimacy and anorexia. We discovered a lot of things in helping people deal with either their sexual abuse, their family of origin stuff, or just their brain being hijacked sexually, gluing it to the fantasy world and not knowing how to have relational sex.
Right.
And once they start learning how to have relational sex, I mean, addiction is not appealing.
Right. Now, your newest book, The 5 Languages of Sex, does help not just people who identify with sexual addiction, correct? This book is
this is for everybody to have a great sex life.
Okay.
I mean, if you're perfectly wonderful and you've never had a sexual impure thought, this book is for you, because you want to learn what your sex language is, what your partner's sex language is, so that you can take them to the highest level of pleasure. I also wrote a book called The Power of Pleasure. I know your mission is to create more pleasure on the planet.
Yes.
And I love pleasure. Pleasure is a great thing. But what I've learned, Dr. Marissa, is that people don't talk about sex in an intelligent way to really know how to take their partner to another place, not just physically, but what is their sex languages? What is it they want to hear during the invitation, during the encounter, after the encounter, that can make their sexual encounters so much more pleasurable? I mean, it's mind-blowing how much more pleasure you can give your spouse or your partner.
Does it take the magic, though, out of the moment or the mood when you actually talk about, I like this, I don't like this, I like that? There's an intellectual part of me. I don't know if it's denial or avoidance because I don't want to do it, but it just seems like I guess maybe I was schooled in, the romance fairy tale that the man is just, so, if you're with someone and you're intimate with them, that it's just supposed to be naturally good. I know
sure,
that
and he's
that's
supposed to
not
be able
true.
to fix cars and rewire the house and do drywall and be able to be happy about doing that. There's lots of fantasies about men and fantasies about women that aren't helpful.
Mm-hmm.
But and
Pun intended.
if you expect because you're a woman you're supposed to be a gourmet chef, I mean that might be disappointing to some people.
Right.
But
right.
It's not about gender. Because depending on your sex language, it doesn't matter if you're male or female. You might be fun sex language, you might be a desire, you might be a pleasure sex language. And this isn't about positions and doing this and doing that. This is about learning their language. Okay. Because once you learn their language, it might make sense why they're like that or like this. And you can start having those conversations, even the conversation, because in the book we talk about, how often do you want to have sex? What are the things that you want to put in your sexual garden? What works for the both of you? And so we have those conversations as well.
Okay.
So if you can get a couple to sit down and have an honest conversation, it's going to go better for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, they do say that communication helps, as long as you actually first understand and then agree. So let's talk about that. What if you're not the same? You're not using the same sex language. What then?
You're not. I can guarantee you. Okay. I have never met a couple who have the same sex language.
Really?
It doesn't happen.
Okay. So
it might happen on a one-night stand. It might happen like if you're just hooking up with someone over the weekend. Okay, because maybe you put out there exactly what you're looking for, and they might not be able to have mature sex anyway. So maybe that's what you're doing. Mm-hmm. But like on a long-term relationship, very rarely will you have the same sex language as the other person. And I think it's just kind of like, God, the universe, sense of humor, because you have to grow to be able to be a better lover to the person that you really love.
And there's the truth.
So when you understand that sex is a journey and your journey is to grow towards the other person and them to grow towards you, it's just like the love languages. I've never heard anyone have the same love language. Sex language, exactly the same. Okay. You're going to marry or be in a long-term relationship with someone who is sexually language different than you are, so you can grow. Mm-hmm. And once you accept that, it's like, okay, well, give me the book. Let me find out what makes them tick. And it's going to be different than what makes you tick, which you can look at as either frustrating and get resentment and get hurt about, or you can look at it as an adventure and just play with it, and have a good time, and grow. Right. And go, you know what? I can play you like a piano, baby. I know your language. It's desire. I know what to say to you. I know what makes you work. I know what to say to you during sex and after sex. I know how to put icing on the cake, baby, because I know you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yes. And it's just like, if your husband likes a certain kind of food, you may not like it, but you'll get good at cooking at it.
Mm-hmm. That's a really, really, really good point, and I want to anchor that one because I think that many of us get into trouble because we have this BS, this belief system that people are just supposed to know that if you're in love, that's the sex is just naturally going to follow in the most perfect way or the most fulfilling way. But actually, it is there's a learning curve, just like anything else that you want to be really good at. If you've just tuned in and you're wondering why I'm talking about sex again, it is true. It is the Sexual Healing with Dr. Marissa series, last week of the month, and you are tuned in to Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa. And today we do have expert Dr. Douglas Weiss, who's the author of The 5 Sex Languages, and we're looking at how you can have a better sex life by tuning in and learning what your sex language is and what your partner's is. So let's go through the 5 so that I'm really clear so I can use this as homework whenever I end up with someone in bed. In a relationship. Okay, so the first is...
It works better if you get more than one try.
Oh, okay. Well, what did someone tell you? No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't do one night stands. I'm lucky if I do any stands at all. But anyways, go ahead.
Okay, so let's talk about the 5 sex languages.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to give the positive qualities, but in the book we talk about being immature.
Okay.
Because you can be sexually mature in your language, or you could be immature in your sex language. Oh, yeah, the first sex language, the mature version, is fun. Fun is someone, fun's fun. I mean, they want spontaneous sex, different locations, they want different kind of behaviors, they want to be creative, they want to experiment. For them, it's about a combination. For them, it's like gin and tonic. They want both. Okay, they want sex and fun. And once you understand they want fun, then you can kind of plan on that. Now, usually fun will not marry fun. That's the problem. Okay?
Right.
The next one is desire. This person being wanted, being desired, being pursued, planning for a sexual encounter. Pleasure is being wanted by their partner. Sexuality is bigger than just the act. It's about you want me. And when you're in a long-term relationship with someone who wants to be wanted, see, the way you approach them sexually and pleasure them sexually will be different than fun. Okay? And then if you're a pleasure sex language, this person, they love to learn about sex. This person usually has a bookcase full of sex, doesn't mind trying different kind of activities as well. Them, sex is a lifelong journey. You're growing, you're learning, not just the physical acts of sex, but they want to engage you emotionally and spiritually and learn how to pleasure you and learn how to get more pleasure in sex themselves. For them, they're the professor of sex, and they're fun. They don't mind talking about it. You know, they're the person, if you're having girls' night out, they're the person who's going to bring it up. Okay?
Okay.
Now, patience is totally different.
That's not me.
And
I don't even know what it is, Brian.
Okay, so the patient love language is oftentimes misunderstood.
Okay.
The patient love language is sex language, rather, is someone who wants to make time for sex. Quickies are not going to work with this person.
Okay.
They want to take time for each phase of sex. This is the person who wants a 20-minute back rub, wants a 20 minutes fondling, and then slow intercourse, and then an orgasm, and then wants you to touch them and hang out. And see, for them, the time is really
maybe I am
powerful for them. Okay, so they're the one who want patience, and again, gentleness is usually important to them. Gratefulness is usually important to them. So you want to kind of be in tune with that. If you got a patient person, you're going to have to, you're probably not a patient love sex language, so you're going to marry one like that, and it's going to be real fun for both of you to figure it out. And right,
sarcasm intended.
Right. So there you go. You got some sex languages, and the last one is acceptance and celebration. This person, they want to know that you love all of them, that they want to feel safe and accepted. They want to feel celebrated inside and outside the bedroom. You accepting them, you being with them, valuing them, is really, really important. So they want to be celebrated. For them, sex and celebration is the party.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Are there more women?
I'm sorry, what?
Are there more women that are one type than the other and men more
No,
one type?
this is a total gamble.
Ah, okay.
You could have this guy who's like, wild man, conquering the business, but he's a patient sex guy, totally blindside you.
Okay.
You can have this girl who's like, miss at the gym and strong and fit, and maybe she strikes you as very controlling, but she's actually a fun sex person.
Okay. So
so
you really
no way
can't
that she get in the
stereotype
bedroom,
here.
you know what you're dealing with.
Right. Okay. I'm sorry I interrupted you. You were going to say something after.
No. But if you can discover the sex language, and in the book we walk how to capitalize on this. Once you learn that, you can have better sex the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. Now, if you're someone who's jumping around from bed to bed, you probably want to learn all 5 languages so you can figure it out. But if you're in a long-term relationship, learning how to pleasure one person with the right sex language can totally make a huge difference. Now, Marissa, I'm a psychologist, so people fly from all over the country and world to come see me, literally every single week. Mm-hmm. So I had a couple that came in from another country, and they came in to have a better sex life. They were married for about a year or two, and they just couldn't figure it out. I had them discuss their sex languages, find out what it was, and then I had them ask for sex kind of generically, I want to make love to you. Okay. Then I said, now, do you know your spouse's sex language? Ask according to the language. And it radically changed the response. I mean, you could feel the energy. You know how you feel energy? It was amazingly different. And so if you want to get more yeses, you might want to talk the language of the person speaking.
Absolutely. I mean, it makes logical sense. But can you be a combo?
Yeah, there's some people that kind of will bounce around a little bit, but generally
you have a preference. It's like Myers. You have a preference in a certain type. Now, if you're a certain type, should you be looking for a compatible type? Like, is celebration better than? I mean, celebrations are better than fun.
You're probably attracted to that.
Okay, so celebration probably won't be attracted to.
If you're a patient person, you want someone to spend time on you. You're not that committed to spend time on someone else.
Okay. Oh, so it's it's not necessarily what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
No, this is like falling in love is an amazing thing, but you're going to grow financially, you're going to grow spiritually, you're going to grow in relationship. If you have kids, you're going to grow as a parent, and you're going to grow sexually. And when you fall in love, you're just beginning a master's level course on that person. And it takes decades to unfold the revelation of that person to you, and sex is part of that. But what I do is I give you a cheat sheet, and in the 5 sex languages, you have a cheat sheet to learn to expedite your sex education with your partner or spouse, and get that one knocked out.
Now, how do you? I mean, first you have to really know what your own sex language is, and this is where I do believe that there is a gender difference. Where I also coach couples and quite a few women who, you know, their whole life has been about pleasing their sex partner. So whatever,
sure, so they don't know how to pleasure themselves.
They don't know how to pleasure themselves, literally and figuratively and emotionally and intellectually. They don't know how. And so they go through the motions, they have a 20-year marriage, and then they finally say, I'm not fulfilled. I totally am not fulfilled. So for women who are in that situation, what would you say to them? Because I have a lot of listeners who write in.
I would say you're going to have to find your sexual voice. Every woman has a sexual voice. And a lot of times you tuned her out. You don't listen to her, and she gets smaller and smaller. You're going to have to, ask her to forgive you, grow in your sexuality. I have a book called Intimacy and Anorexia where I actually teach men and women how to actually find their sexuality and engage it. But the sex language book might be a really good start, because if she went to her husband and said, I want to have better and more sex with you, would you mind if we go through a book together so that we can do that? Most guys will sign up for that. and if you say, listen, this is really this is why. I find that the 5 sex language gives couples a language. Just like sex addiction gives a language, intimacy and anorexia gives a language. The 5 sex language gives a language. And once you have a language, you can have a conversation. This is why she's unfulfilled, because she's probably a patient sex language, and he's, hurry up and get it over with.
Right.
And she's totally unfulfilled. Well, if he can say, oh, this is what she's been trying to say to me, I get it, and then say, you know what, if you want foreplay for 15 minutes, and we're going to have more sex, I'm all for that. Like, if this is what I got to do to warm up the car to be able to drive, most guys can put 2 and 2 together.
Yes, that's most guys, and probably the guys that go and see you. But I've heard horror stories, and putting the moose on the table right now, of men who don't want to be told how they are not doing well in the bedroom. I mean, that... There's immature versions, and that's why we didn't cover those, but the immature versions, there are guys who are just jerks. Okay.
And then there are women who let guys be jerks. And I'm sure you've had shows on boundaries and communication, and she needs to have a boundary. And she might need to take him to get help. But if he's going to be a jerk, you can say, listen, you're going to be a jerk. You don't want to learn me? Well, then you don't get to play me, baby. When you want to learn me, you can play me.
That's great.
Giving women a voice is really important. I've written several books about women getting their power.
Yeah.
And I believe in women having their power in a relationship. They should be in an equal relationship. And if they're in a relationship where they aren't using their power and they've given their power away, they need to get their power, even their sexual power, back.
Right.
And to be able to enjoy who they are as a woman.
That
That's
would
their right to be able to do that.
yeah.
And the guy being a jerk, you have to enable a guy to be a jerk to stay a jerk.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I totally hear you. Do you hear, listeners? What he's saying? That's what I've been preaching. So find your
voice. I grow a lot
voice.
of men up in my office.
Yeah. I bet you do.
Yeah, and they grow up. They grow up just fine. You know, but you can't let them keep being a jerk.
Right. And it's it's very
I hear
common.
that she's been victimized, that she's been hurt, but she's also let herself continue to be hurt. She was stand up.
Right. Because we, especially for women, it seems like that critical voice that says you're not beautiful, you're fat, what have you done to let yourself go? You're
can we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, I would love to, because it's the most common.
I have in the book, The 5 Sex Languages, I talk about a little bit about sex in the brain. So if a man is having sex with you maturely, eyes open, lights on, nurturing conversation, if he's looking at you during sex, he's attaching to you neurologically. The largest amount of brain chemicals, endorphins, and enkephalins, and others hit the prefrontal cortex, and boom, they literally glue to whatever they're looking at. The good news is, if he's looking at you during sex, he's gluing to you, so it doesn't matter what you look like. You can be as big as a barn or as skinny as a rail. You can be tall, you can be short, doesn't matter what color your hair is. He will glue to you, okay, like Velcro. So just make sure he's looking at you during sex. It doesn't matter what you weigh. It doesn't matter what size you are, top or bottom. Okay? Now, if he's looking at pornography and has an attachment over there and then tries to attach you, he's going to be confused. So you're going to feel that comparison. But if he's having sex maturely, eyes open, lights on, nurturing conversation, connecting to you, he is glued to you. So you can just throw the covers off and say, behold, the best thing you've ever seen in your life, and mean it. Because he's glued to you.
In theory, I want to hear that, and I want to accept that personally. But
well, it's like ring the bell, feed the dog.
Say that again.
It's like ring the bell, feed the dog. Pavlov's dog.
Okay.
So whatever the stimulus is, that's the woman's face and body. Doesn't matter, because when he gets that chemical load, he glues to whatever that is.
But I know a lot of women who don't feel that way about themselves and their own body image, so they don't want the lights on. Yeah, that's
a whole other issue.
There's another issue. So
now, if you reject your own body, then that's on you. And again, they can do an exercise to find their sexuality, to own it, to play with it. I've had lots of women who've been sexually abused, abandoned, or living with sex addicts who've been injured in that process. And I do understand the healing process, but that's your responsibility to get your sexuality back.
Right.
It's your responsibility to look at your body and go, you're awesome. I love you. You're hot, baby. Like, you should be able to say that as a woman to yourself and mean it. And if you can't, just stay in that mirror until you can.
Well, that's
like, stop giving yourself an excuse not to like yourself.
Right. Well, then you hear people blaming, the whole ideal body image, body look. My vote.
Kool-Aid.
Right, but it's there, and I'm not.
But you have to buy it. I mean, you're a gorgeous woman. If you don't think so, then you bought the Kool-Aid.
Right.
But you're not enough.
Right.
And then who controls you? The people who buy cosmetics, the people who offer cosmetic surgery, the people who offer better clothes, better purses, you're just on a treadmill of being purchased.
Well,
women should be secure because they're just awesome as they are.
Right. That's the balance. But I know that, there's the one side where it's unrealistic to think that you could have the body that you had when you were 24 and modeling, and that's unrealistic, that you have to be okay with the aging process and, having kids and gaining some weight. And then there's the other extreme that says, well, you really... You use your body weight as a protection to keep people away, and you just don't care anymore. And then the other extreme of letting it go, and so what? I can just eat like a house. Definitely. Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And I think there are people who abandon themselves through drinking, through food, through sex. I mean, without addictions, I wouldn't have a job. And so, I get that there's addictions, and so that there's a balance there. But if you don't accept yourself, you're probably not going to heal.
Right. That's the number one job.
And if you need to be cardio in shape, get that. But you don't need to have a certain poundage.
And wasn't that amazing and fun and informative, especially if you want to spice up your relationship. Now, if you want to hear the whole interview with Dr. Douglas Weiss, then go to my YouTube channel. It's a free subscribe and you'll get that. Just Google that on. And that's it for Labor Day weekend. I am hoping that you will take the balance challenge that I talked about earlier. I hope you've enjoyed all of the tips this week as we focused on your own mental health and how you can feel better right now. That's it for another scintillating and pleasure-filled episode of Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show, reminding you it's all about balance. Peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. This is Dr. Marissa reporting live from my living room during the pandemic, reminding you to have the best Labor Day weekend ever. We'll see you on Tuesday. Monday, you get to listen to one of my past shows with Nate Selesnick and Being a Superhuman. And we'll be live again on Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. Drive time, your time. Thank you for being part of my Happy 88 tribe. See you Tuesday.